Welcome to video 3 in a series of 5 videos all about running community workshops in your kids yoga or just yoga business. So I'm Julia and I'm a children's wellbeing consultant and mentor, and I support other kids yoga teachers and wellbeing professionals through training and mentoring. And so in this video, I'm talking all about the practicalities of planning your workshop. So I've already talked about why you might run a workshop, and I've also talked about the kind of gathering ideas, pre-planning stage. And now we're talking all about the practicalities. So in the last video, I talked about the importance of knowing what the purpose is of your workshop for you and also for the people who are coming. And so using that knowledge and also using the knowledge of what it is you definitely want to do. So the big ideas that you've already noted, the things that you know you want to do, that's going to help you to know how you want your workshop to look and feel. And we already talked about in the last video about a venue needing to suit all of your the needs of you and the needs of the people who are coming. So that will help you to think about how you want your workshop to actually feel. And so this will help you to book a venue. And so considering the needs of the people who you're wanting to attract, who you're wanting to come, book an appropriate venue on a date that's going to work, or the type of date, not a specific date, but well, you will need to book a specific date, but at a time that works for your people. And you need to book it for far enough advance so that you've given yourself time to plan the workshop and also to advertise and to market the workshop. Because in my experience, even those people who say that they will come, of course they want to come, and even those people, sometimes they don't come. Sometimes they really want to come, but something happens and they don't come. So you still need to allow enough time in advance for you to market it so that you've got lots of people that want to come. So at the time that you book your venue, make sure that you know the terms and conditions of the booking. Make sure you know the cancellation fees and the dates with which you can cancel if you need to. Make a note of that, because I've had it before where I have booked a hall and I have needed to cancel. So have a think about like writing down in your diary what like the last date that you can cancel. I mean, some halls you just lose your money, you pay the money and you lose it. Some of them will have a date, well, if you cancel before this date, then you don't have to pay. It's useful to know that information just in case you do need to cancel. Make a note of it in your diary. So when you've booked your venue, have a think about whether you need any other services or service providers and whether you need to book them. So it could be that you want someone else to provide the food. This is something that I decided to do. It is an expensive way of doing things, paying for somebody else to provide food. But at the workshops that I deliver, I ended up with quite a lot of different allergies. There were some people who were vegan, there were some people who were gluten intolerant, there were some people who had nut allergies, and I just didn't want to make anybody ill. Like, safety is a really core value of mine, personally and in my business, and I wanted to make sure everybody was safe. So for me, the best thing was to pay for somebody to provide food. And so this could be that you pay for somebody to create a meal, or it could be that you pay for somebody to make particular snacks or snacks for particular groups of people, or it could be that you don't want to do that at all, and that's totally fine. But it's something that you need to consider. If you need any other services, book those early, book those at the time that you're booking your venue. Even if you haven't made all of the final decisions and you haven't given the final numbers, just getting into a conversation with them and checking that they'd be available at that time to provide some food for you, if that's what you want to do. Or maybe you might need to book an additional adult, and if you're running it with children and you need to pay for an additional adult to support you, book that person then. Or maybe you're getting a different wellness practitioner who can provide something that you can't provide, that you're wanting to include them in the workshop. But bear in mind that all of these things will heavily impact on your expenses for the workshop. And that's fine if you're factoring that into how much you're charging, but just make sure that you keep track of it on a little spreadsheet or something of how much it's costing you, so that you're definitely, factoring that in. And when you know that you've booked your venue and you've booked your additional service providers, if you need them, start to hype it up. So letting the people in your world know something's happening on this date. I'm going to be running a workshop on this date. Do you want to be the first to know, or save the date? So letting people know something's happening on this particular date. And then anybody that's interested can save that time. And you could even start having a list of people who want to be the first people to know about it. And this is what happened for me when I ran workshops. Was over time, people would be like, let me know when your next one is. And the people who came to my workshops were people, well, the different types for the different types of workshops, but I either had families or I had parents, basically. They were my two main workshop types. And the parents who were coming to the adult workshops needed to know well enough in advance so they could book that time, and they could arrange childcare, or they could ensure that they were going to be free at that time. And the same goes for my families. They needed to know because they had things like, weekends away or play dates, or, birthday parties, football classes, all the rest of it. So letting people know something's happening on this date. Let me know if you want to be the first to know. That's really, really useful. And it also means that you've got a list ready to go of the people who are interested in. So you've booked your venue, you've booked your service providers, and you're hyping it up. The next thing that you need to do, in the system that works for me, you might not do it this way, but this is what I found worked for me, was I set up then my systems and copy. So this could be making sure that basically people can pay you, however that works for you. So I've done this a few different ways. When I first set up my business, it was people paid me via bank transfer, and then I moved that on to people would book through Bookwhen. I used Bookwhen for a while, and then I stopped doing Bookwhen and I had it on my website, and people just book directly through my website. But you could be paid through PayPal, you could issue an invoice and people pay you on the invoice. You could set up payment through Stripe and people pay you through that. It could be that people pay you in cash or in check if that's your bag. I personally don't like that, but that's just me personally. Just make sure that people can pay you and you know how they're going to pay you. And make sure that you have your terms and conditions for the workshop really clearly set out. So if people book on, can they cancel? How long in advance can they cancel? And do you have anything in mind, like a cancellation fee? Or do you have like a date that they need to have cancelled by? Or are you not going to let them cancel at all? Totally fine. What are your terms and conditions? And have those really clear in your mind and in copy. And then the next thing, when you've got your systems and your terms and conditions, that's when you start writing the copy and the text to describe the workshop. So still, I haven't planned the workshop at this point. This is me just, all of these systems all happen before I plan the workshop, and you can totally write the copy for your workshop before you plan it, because you've got the big ideas of what it is you're including. So for example, in my family workshops, I knew that there would be games, I knew there'd be some refreshments, I knew that there would be a yoga adventure story, I knew there'd be a relaxation, and I knew there'd be a mindful craft. And that was enough information. I didn't need to share the details. And I knew, for example, in my workshops for adults, that I would be including some mindfulness, I'd be including some journaling, some restorative yoga, some yoga nidra, and some snacks. That's basically what I included. So I didn't need to plan it all. I just that's all the information that was needed at that time. So you can write the text to describe the workshop. And then the next thing when you've got the text is to put the text on everything. Let people know. Let people know. So email people about it. Put it on your social media if you have social media. Have leaflets that you give to people. Whatever your marketing strategies are, use all of them, and then consider having an early bird price or an incentive that people can book before a certain date. So that encourages people to book early, and it makes you know that you are okay. And so I used to have an incentive that if people book before an early date, they either had some money off or they got an additional extra thing when they booked. And then that would help me know, oh, okay, I've met my minimum number, because we talked before about what's your minimum number. I knew my minimum number before the date that I needed to cancel my venue. And then usually I had met my minimum number by the time that I needed to cancel, so I didn't need to cancel. But a few times I hadn't met my minimum number by the time I needed to cancel. And so I would do a little bit of extra, do you want to, extra marketing. And then if I still hadn't filled my minimum number by the time that date was coming, I would choose to cancel because I didn't want to lose money in it. And so that's what I did. Make sure that your early bird offer ends before the date that you need to cancel your venue. I feel like a lot of the things that I'm saying sound really obvious, and you may be watching this thinking it's really stupid. Of course you would do that. But these are all things that I learned through trial and error, and I wish there was a video all about this before I started doing workshops. So I'm just being really stating the obvious here in case it hadn't been obvious to you. So yeah, that's booking early and incentive. So again, I still at this point haven't planned my workshop. This is just the practicality stage. And so I hope that you found that useful. And in the next video in the series, the fourth video, I'm going to be talking all about the workshops themselves, planning the workshops itself. And so yeah, planning the actual workshops is video 4 out of 5. And I hope this has been useful. Email me any questions or comment on the video if you've got any questions. My email is julia@juliahankins.co.uk. And don't forget, there's a little booklet that goes along with this video series that you might find helpful to download and to help you formulate some of these questions in your own mind. Thanks for watching.